Hi everyone, I'm Jordi Salvador. I'm the manager of PPP for Cities, and I'm going to try to introduce you how the pandemic affected Barcelona and how PPPs can help in order to overcome all the problems that pandemic bring with it. Before starting, I would like to thank the organizers to invite me and to invite PPP for Cities in order to explain which are our daily activities and how from our organization we are trying to promote the implementations of PPP in order to reach the sustainable cities. Let me introduce first the university where we are from, where we are working. Like we are IESE Business School. It's one of the leading business schools in the world. We are at the top in the rankings provided by Financial Times. We have like campus all over the world. Our headquarters are located in Barcelona, but still we have campus in Madrid, Munich, New York, Sao Paulo, and we also have agreements with many other universities all over the world. In particular, from PPP for Cities, as a specialist center on PPPs in smart and sustainable cities, what we do is research, innovation, and advisory services to public administrations to all over the world in order to support the organization, management, and development of projects involving collaborations in between public and private sector in order to reach these sustainable development goals of the United Nations. As a result of our work, we have been named by United Nations as an international center of excellence on PPP programs on smart cities with other research centers all over the world, including Toyo University, that is also part of this network of centers of excellence on PPPs. Mainly, like our task is to do research through the business case methodology. We have been doing cases all over the world in different sectors, the water sector, transportation sector, or healthcare sector. Besides our flagship research, that is the business cases, all available in our webpage. We have been also doing occasional documents on financing smart solution in cities, especially on refurbishing of buildings, or also the economic impact of bike sharing in European cities. All the knowledge that we have acquired all over the last years doing research on PPPs, we try like to put on a document called like PPPs Guide for Regional and Local Governments, focus on Latin America, where we have been doing some workshops and seminars in order to explain how we see that these successful PPPs are structured. Also in our daily activities, also like providing support to the public sector in order to foster these PPPs. So let's see which is the situation in Barcelona about COVID. Barcelona, especially during the first wave, was highly affected, and we can see this in the number of diseased people during the months of March and April. However, the situation stabilized. Barcelona was subject to very harsh lockdown conditions that led to the public transport to work at around 10% of the standard capacity. So since then, we've seen how like it has been improving the number of users. Where are the other users now? So people are walking to the office, are using bicycle, or even using new ways of transport through these mobility as a service. Which is the situation currently in Spain? So we are one of the most affected countries and with higher number of cases, even ones as we see compared to Portugal or Italy. What's behind this high number of cases? Not social norms, not cultural traits, neither family structure, as it's often said, but in an inadequate political response and an inadequate use of the available technology. We open the bars too early because our high dependence on tourism, about 15% of our GDP, like the controls were rapidly dropped in June in order to attract the tourists, and we can see here how the harsh measures during the first wave were quickly eased. Not having enough people tracking those people that had symptoms, and not carrying out enough tests to map, to understand where like the focus were expanding. We can see here that we are far behind on other European countries. And finally, no clear messages from politicians as a result of planning and also for decentralization. Where is the situation now? Like now Spain, and particularly Madrid, have like one of the worst focus on number of cases in Europe. What we saw during the pandemic, that the acceleration of previous trends like digitalization, e-commerce, payment systems, online banking, the telecare to avoid people going to hospitals, the remote working and schooling, but in somehow like we didn't have the appropriate or the adequate infrastructure or adequate IT devices in order to follow the lessons in the school, especially on those people with in the lower income distribution. We also like face new problems derived from the increase of e-commerce, like pollution in cities with the last mile deliveries. And we expect the mobility as a service to grow as a new way of development. So we see that the private sector easily adapted to this new situation. However, did the public sector, public administration, adapted quickly to the new requirements? Let's have a look at what happened in Spain. So the government failed to purchase sanitary products like masks or ventilations with the adequate standards of quality. So they had to rely on private sector or logistic companies experienced on importing from other countries. The public administration was not able to pay the minimum income scheme to those people in need because like people were not ready to work from home. And even more important is the failure of the track application for our cell phones. Despite having the technology was available. However, for different privacy problems, government problems, only a few regions in Spain were able to implement and then could therefore track those people with cases. So the technology is available, but it's needed an adequate governance framework to make benefits from that. As a result of this difficult economic situation derived from the pandemic, the European Union implemented the Next Generation EU that tries to foster the green transition and digital transition in order to improve the skills and the infrastructure of the member states. It's in this context, in this environment, that the public sector should be ready to benefit from the private sector technology, private sector international experience, economies of scale, and innovative capacity. However, the public sector has to provide the adequate leadership and the adequate legal framework in order to attract companies to invest and to implement this kind of measures. Just to finish, I would like to show you just one old advertisement of Pirelli that was saying that power is nothing without control. Once we are discussing and talking about PPPs, let me say that technology is nothing without smart governance. That's it for us. I thank you very much again to the organizers, and please do not hesitate to contact us through our webpage in case you have any doubt. Thank you very much.